Protesting by blocking a major traffic intersection or highway is a pretty good way to get me to not care at all what you are protesting. I do not care what you are protesting if I am for it or against it. If you are slowing down my commute to work or preventing me from getting to my destination, then you are just an asshole in the way of my destination. Do you mean intersection? This isn't unpopular. And protesting in a back alley is like not protsing at all. Yeah, but you probably didn't care about their protest anyway. Protests just don't work if they don't have an impact on people's lives. For example, Milk's protests blocked traffic. Them dang intersections. I feel like that's the point though. It is made to cause chaos and have people upset so the government or big corp or whatever change whatever they need to change. I'm really not trying to be rude or anything, but does this mean if you were in the South during Jim Crow laws you'd be the type of person Milk was talking about as the biggest opponent to progress in his letter from Birmingham jail? I totally agree with this. No matter what your movement is, the second you start making people late to work, pick up their kid, any event, they don't care what you are protesting. You've just become the asshole that makes their boss get pissed, that makes their spouse wonder why the hell they aren't home yet, or make their kid mad because they weren't picked up on time. There is a difference between making an actual point and getting it across, and between being a nuisance/asshole. Civil disobedience is supposed to be disruptive. If it's not, it's just humans acting as signage. If you base what you care about on how inconvenienced you are, you were never going to give a shit anyway. Didn't MLK Jr. employ this tactic? I guess he was an asshole, huh? You wouldn't care if I protested in a park either. Do you care at all about any other protest, though? The most effective protests have seen progress by bringing local productivity to a halt. The point of that is to disrupt the economy so that the local leaders are forced to care about what they're protesting about. It's not about recruiting people from the highway. You wouldn't care if they protested anywhere else either. The point of protests is to draw attention, and doing things like blocking roads is a good way to go about doing that. Milk did exactly this and it led to change. That one dude who screamed at the protesters and took the girl's phone and threw it like a frisbee really had to go somewhere. Edit, those protesters deserved it. So, protest, but only if you could ignore them. Cue the Occupy Hong Kong/Umbrella movement and the current ongoing protests. Yes, be non-disruptive and make sure the average citizens can go to work or get to places so the government can continue business as usual and hollow out the city. Who wants to be inconvenienced by those that actually care about stuff? This isn't unpopular, this is literally the point of it. I don't think this is unpopular, however I don't agree personally. The point of protests, specifically peacefully ones, is to cause some form of inconvenience basically. If people are standing in their front yards just holding a sign saying don't drink soda, it's not really going to do much, compared to if somebody went and made it tough to get to the soda store or whatever. This could have been said about sit-ins. It doesn't matter what you're protesting, I immediately don't care if you're sitting in my seat at the whites only counter. If nobody went and sat there, and made people upset, and caused some actual form of unrest, nothing would have happened. Now perhaps blocking off a highway or major intersection doesn't make sense in the specific protests you're thinking of, but that's a different story. That being said, I'm prepared for the downvotes. Isn't the purpose of a protest to bother other people? That's literally the only way things can work out for a cause. The whole world is slowly getting fucked by climate change, but I'm going to be late for work today. So short-sighted and self-entitled. Don't make this salaried man late. Go protest quietly and out of the way, preferably an intersection of the city. Good to see someone supporting China instead of Hong Kong for a change. Glad you despise them for blocking roads. r/Bonapalta. Mildly inconvenience me for a fraction of my day? My apathy for your existence or rights only increases. That just says how narcissistic you are, and how little you care about free speech, if you are slowing down my commute to work or preventing me from getting to my destination. The most effective way to demonstrate then you are just an asshole in the way of my destination. If you don't like what they're doing, that almost certainly means they're doing something right. Like you have a fuck in the first place. Unless is like protesters in Hong Kong or something. I think you've made a mistake. This is r/unpopular opinion, not r/popular opinion. There are more important things in this world than work. Is a soft lad. Oh shoot. I am kinda offended by this, so good job. I am a protester in Hong Kong and I did help to slow down the metro network on a day. It was successful. Some of them didn't care as they support the movement, but some of them just literally beat those students up. That's the point. To disrupt people's routine. Not like you would have cared anyway. Fair enough, but just so we're clear, this is just a nice way of saying that you value convenience above the rights of other people. Wow. I wonder what you think/feel about the civil rights protests of 50s and 60s. Seem to remember a whole bridge on the way into Selma being blocked. Imagine you form a political party opposing the exploitation of the working class and the human unworthy nature of a production that drains natural and human resources for the insatiably hunger for growth of the capital, and then you block a street and disrupt the capitalist workday in order to actually enforce your demands and not be a meaningless demonstration, and then this fucking guy gets out of his car and says, "I don't care about what you want, I gotta get exploited." You don't understand protests. It's not about making you care. If you were capable of caring, you would have cared the moment you hear about it. Protests only work when they force you to bend to their will. Look up the effectiveness of general strikes. If protests get to a point that they affect your own life, maybe also question those that could satisfy their demands but do not. I own a restaurant with my wife. We work our asses off. I have never shot anyone or punched a woman. This will be important later. At 7:30 on Valentine's Day a few years ago, a Black Lives Matter protest came into our restaurant, completely filled it, and read off a list of people killed by our local police department that year, made it impossible for us to work, on our busiest day of the year, for 20 to 30 minutes. Also, they were preaching to the choir, as the majority of our patrons and certainly our staff believe in equality. Then, as the icing on the cake, someone named Matrix Glitch left us a 1-star review on Facebook and said that I punched a woman in front of 40 witnesses. Try getting a review removed as a business on Facebook. It's still there, I'll tell you what, the experience did not make me more supportive of BLM or their bullshit protests. While I agree with the sentiment, I can't stand behind hypocrisy, dishonesty, and general shittiness just to get the message out there. The road is absolutely no place to be fucking around for any reason, including driving like a shithead. It's a major public nuisance at least, a major public danger at most. I don't know. In my social justice class we discussed how to get a movement known. There are many steps, and one of them when your movement isn't being seen or known is to interject yourself into the easiest commute. If you block say an only way to get somewhere, then yes. But if you say block one way to get somewhere while there are other options, it brings attention to your movement. It puts your movement into people's minds. After all, it seems annoying, but sometimes it's needed. People who misunderstand the way civil disobedience is supposed to work. Then you don't understand what protest is really about. Nobody gives a fuck about your commute or your fantasy football team. Milk blocked highways during the civil rights protest. Guess OP supports racial segregation. The civil rights protesters were annoying. Let me paint you a bigger picture. A group of people are discriminated against because they are left-handed. The discrimination interferes with their day-to-day life, so they decide to riot and cause property damage to their community. This hurts everyone. People who were previously unaffected by the discrimination now are. Politicians can now make one of two moves: push more oppression onto left-handed people, or make laws to stop discrimination against them. You either grow to hate the left-handed people for throwing a brick through your window and costing you money, or you sympathize with them. Blame them for being late for work, or blame the people who actually discriminated against the left-handed people is your choice. They might care, but they sure want when they lose their job for being late. Or when their kid goes hungry, you just made an enemy. This is an ongoing debate since 3 months in Lebanon. Few people block major roads on thousands of people. I mean, it's all well and good saying this now, but it'll be a pretty dumb thing to say when your home is flooded and or on fire due to climate change and you can't breathe due to the air quality. Maybe just listen in future. Then I expect the protesters are ecstatic to have inconvenienced you. It's win-win for them, lol. I kinda disagree. Though some unintentional people are hurt as well, it is an effective way of showing your message. I'm pretty sure you didn't care even before the protest. Unpopular, here we go again. Exceptionally popular opinion. It's not like you're going to start caring even if they protested in a convenient location. You'd just be happier since you wouldn't have to hear or see them. TC, you already didn't care. So why would we care if your life got a little more bothersome?